We're talking today with Michael Murphy of Hastings, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Okay, let's begin at the beginning. Where and when were you born?
I was born in Ludington, 1947.
Okay, Ludington, Michigan. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And,
did you grow up there or did you move around?
I was 2 years old when we moved to Hastings. My dad got transferred.
Okay. And what was he doing for a living?
He was a heavy equipment operator for the Michigan State Highway Department.
Okay.
MDOT.
All right. And then did you finish high school there?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what year did you graduate?
1966.
Okay. Now, 1966, Vietnam is beginning to heat up. Were you paying attention to that?
First time I heard anything about Vietnam was in I think it was a geography class, and our teacher, Jack Sorby, pointed out, oh, by the way, this is Vietnam, and we got a little conflict going there, and that's the first time I ever heard anything about it. So,
All right. But you were aware there was a draft on?
oh yes, yeah.
Okay. So what did you do after you graduated from high school?
Well, I bounced around different jobs, and then decided I didn't have the money for college, so I wanted to volunteer for the draft, which I did. And
Okay. Now explain a little bit. What's the difference between volunteering for the draft and getting drafted the old-fashioned way?
well, you actually had to wait around to find out if you're going to get drafted. I was 18 years old. I wanted to get in and get it over with. So, and that's what a friend of mine and I both did. And we ended up doing basic training at Fort Knox.
Okay. And when you are still, but if you're still officially a draftee, then it's a 2-year commitment rather than 3.
2-year commitment, yes.
Okay.
As
All
opposed to if you joined, obviously it's going to be a 3-year commitment.
All right. Now, did you do a physical someplace before you went down?
Detroit.
Okay. And what do you remember about that?
Just long lines, waiting, going through. They check your heart, turn your head, cough. Those kind of things.
That kind of stuff. Did you notice anybody trying to beat the system or get out of it?
Not really. I think everybody was there trying to, go through the process.
Right. All right. Now, when you arrive at Fort Knox, what kind of greeting do you get?
Oh, it was a lot of hurry up and wait, long lines. You double time down to the next station to get your clothes. You go through long lines getting your inoculations or your vaccines, and they used guns at that time, just guns that would shoot in the arm, and
Right.
some of them were kind of painful. So yeah,
Get that.
but then you were assigned a unit. My unit was B-17-5, and we had a pretty good sergeant that he was tough but fair.
Okay. So what are you actually doing in basic training?
Well, going through discipline type things, marching, bivouac, KP, all the fun stuff,
So the bivouac camping outside overnight? or-
Outside, yes.
All right. And so what time of year was this?
This was in the fall. It was in October,
Okay.
October, November, and yeah, I recall being in a pup tent, and it was kind of miserable out. And my friend and I we set up our tent, and we dug a trench around it, and guys were laughing at us for doing this. Well, it rained like crazy that night, and I think we were about the only ones that were dry. So
Okay.
that's something we learned at Boy Scouts. By the way.
All right. So there you go. So that wasn't something that the sergeants had told you
Oh
to do?
no,
or
absolutely not. No.
Okay, you did that. Okay. Do you get any weapons training in basic?
Oh, of course. M14s, and that was about it. I mean, you had I recall crawling under barbed wire while they were shooting machine guns over the top of us. But the M14 was the primary weapon. I never shot an M16 in basic training.
Okay. Yeah, and that early, you would not have done that. Even later on, a lot of times they don't.
No, the M14 was a good weapon, though.
Yeah. Okay. So now, when people screwed up in training, what happened to them?
Oh, it's usually some sort of discipline, something you called pushing Kentucky away, which is basically push-ups type thing. They had a group that couldn't figure out what left from right was, and So they actually ended up marching in front of the whole company or battalion, and arms around each other, going left, right, and sometimes they'd put some sand in their left-hand pocket so they would know which left was. So, but they were confused, you know.
Okay. Now, were these people, from were they hillbillies or people from the city somewhere who didn't have much
No, they're
education?
not necessarily hillbillies. They just didn't get it. You
Okay.
know? Yeah.
Because you find that, yeah. Where were most of the trainees from, do you think? Were they like from Michigan or Michigan? No.
Our unit primarily from Michigan.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then, so how long was basic?
8 weeks, I believe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, at that point, when you're in training, had you requested any kind of specialized training when you signed up, or were you just waiting to see what they?
Oh, whatever they
assigned you?
gave me, you know. You get assignments when you're done. They call out your name and they said, this is where you're going to be assigned to. And I recall some of the, we call them RAs, but there were people that enlisted and they had a 3-year commitment. There are 3 or 4 of them that says, no, I didn't sign up for infantry, and no, I signed up for blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, do you have any documents showing us that your recruiter told you that? No, they told me I would. So they were obviously disappointed going to infantry instead of, Signal Corps or something like that. So.
Right. Yeah. You go where Uncle Sam needs you. Ultimately.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you get assigned to?
I got assigned to Fort Hood, Texas. They were creating a whole new battalion called, it was a 518th Military Police Battalion, and that 518th Military Police Battalion existed during World War II, and they dismantled it after World War II, but then Vietnam came along and they created this 518th Military Police Battalion. And most of our training, there was a lot of concerns because of the riots on campuses and so on, but we did a lot of riot control.
Okay.
Lots of riot control.
All right. So what are you taught to do? If you're learning riot control in 1966, 67, what are you being taught?
Discipline. A lot of discipline in the formations and how to hold your weapon and things of that nature. So I recall at one point in time while we were down there, it was, I think it was August of 1967, or at Fort Hood, that they told us to pack our duffel bags. We're going to Detroit. Detroit had riots going on there, and so we got all ready, you know. But then in the last minute, they called it off. They had apparently they had some National Guards from Selfridge Field that were taking over the riot control.
Yeah, and at some point, elements of the 101st Airborne were up there.
Yeah, probably.
So I talked to one of the guys who was with that. Yeah. Okay. So yes, you're doing that now. So how long did you stay at Fort Hood?
Well, from about the 1st of January until the end of July.
Like of 67?
When I got, 67.
All right.
And that's when I got my orders from Vietnam.
Okay. Now, were you basically training the whole time, or was there a first phase that would be basically like AIT, and then you're just kind of on duty?
Well, actually, we went through AIT. You did all the training, military law, riot control, things of that nature. And then when we were done with that, we did basic patrols and guard duty at the gates. So we were actually full-fledged military police at that point in time.
Okay. So you're actually functioning as military police unit at Fort Hood at
Yes.
that point. Okay. Now, did you go off base much?
Oh yeah, a couple of friends of mine and I, we went to a place called Building Lake or Building Dam, and we went swimming. We occasionally take a weekend off and go to a hotel or something, and drink some beers and enjoy ourselves. At one point in time, 3 or 4 of us went down to, where was it, San Antonio, to catch a concert down there. It was Jefferson Airplanes. I don't know if you're...
Oh, yeah, I'm old enough to remember.
The Starships
yes.
now,
Yeah,
anyway. Yeah.
Okay, now, did you think that maybe you'd spend your whole enlistment there?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I didn't even think about that.
All right. Now, when you were training as an MP, there much mention of Vietnam at all, or any?
Oh yeah, you know, some guys talked about it. As a matter of fact, after I left there, years, you know, about 4 years ago, I ran into somebody that I was stationed down there with. He was from Detroit, but he stayed there the entire time. Well, I asked him, what would you do? I says, mostly honor guard duty for bodies coming back from Vietnam, which was tough.
Okay, so the unit itself stays at Fort Hood, but
Yep.
then people from that unit that get reassigned to other places.
Yes.
So that's what happens to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so how do you find out you're going to Vietnam?
Well, got orders.
Okay.
Paperwork, you know.
All right. And once you get that, do you go home first and then go overseas?
Oh yeah, no, it took 30 days off, you know. It was the end of July, so I'm going to say probably like the 25th of July, and I had a report 26th of August. So.
Okay. So what was it like kind of going back home knowing you were going to Vietnam next?
You know, actually, when I called home, I told my parents, and I guess my dad broke down. But actually, I was kind of glad. I hated it down in Texas. So I'm going numb.
All right. Now, had your father been in World War II, or
No.
Okay.
No, his brothers, two of his brothers were.
All right. So you do that. So where do you leave the States from? Do you go to Oakland or Seattle or somewhere else?
Oakland.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
We made a stop in Hawaii for fuel, and I think maybe the Philippines. We might have stopped there as well. So.
Okay. And were you flying on a chartered commercial jet, or were you in a military aircraft?
Military aircraft. It's like a C-130 or
Oh.
something like that. They converted those things and
Okay.
put seats in them, and it was cold, and you know, iced up on the sides of the plane. And at one point in time, we hit some pockets, and some guys got really scared because we were dropping out of the sky. So.
Okay. So not the best trip over.
No,
as
no,
like
not really.
Where do you land in Vietnam?
I think Benoit.
Okay. So outside of Saigon.
Yeah.
All right. And when did you land, during the day or at night?
During the day.
Okay. So what's your first impression of Vietnam when you get there?
Hot, humid. We loaded up in a deuce and a half, and the guy was telling us, says, you guys be careful, watch for kids throwing grenades at you, you know, and I was looking at the duffel bags. I thought, well, I'm going to be covering up. But he says, yeah, that's true, and then he opened his shirt up, and he was opened up from his chest down to his belly where he got wounded.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and he just was there to scare us a little bit.
Yeah. Welcome to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay. So what unit do you get assigned to?
I was assigned to the 716th Military Police Battalion in Saigon.
Okay. So what kind of base or headquarters did you have? Were you
We had a central headquarters,
Okay.
MACV, and then we had different locations where different companies would be housed at. I happened to be housed in Cholan, and it was a place called the Capitol Hotel. Wouldn't resemble any hotels, more like at least, but it was high and dry though, so that was a good thing.
All right. And now what are your duties once you're there?
Primary duties that we had, we would load up in deuce and halves, and they would take us around to different static posts. And our duties were security for different BOQs, and actually I guarded was that General Westmoreland's at one point in time, or and it's actually pretty boring. I mean.
Okay. Now, you're standing guard over things.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
we
so-
had these little concrete things with a little roof over the top of it, and we had our M40, our 45s and our M16s, and that was about it.
Okay. So you said BOQ. Is that Bachelor Officer Quarter?
Yes. it
Okay.
is.
So you had, because the Americans in Saigon, they didn't have a lot of regular combat troops in the city. That's my understanding. They had the MPs
Yeah.
to guard different things, like certain
Primarily,
facilities
yes.
there, and then we had the headquarters and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we had a unit called security guards. That, they were attached to us, but they performed some of the same duties the military police did. Some of them had come out of the field and were stationed there. So.
Okay. So what did Saigon look like to you? What did you see there? What was out in the streets?
Hot city, a lot of traffic, a lot of bikes, a lot of I can't remember what you call them, but young Vietnamese kids pulling carts around, and you know, and they could pick you up and take you wherever you want to go. We had a PX that was probably half mile from our unit. There's restaurants and stuff, but every day they were, you know, almost every day you'd know that they send rockets into the city. They couldn't hit anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my unit just before I got there was hit with it was attacked, and it had a lot of scars from claymore mines that would had hit the front of the building. I think I was on the 3rd floor of the Capitol. So, and then there was St. George that was behind us, where there's primarily the security guards housed. So, yeah.
All right. So what's a typical day like for you there? I mean, before the Tet Offensive?
Well, typically you'd go down and you'd dress for inspection before you went out. Then you take your gear, you load up in a deuce and a half, and well, they'd give you the assignments where you're going to be, and there were different BOQs and different houses, buildings that would house military personnel. Some of them were the old hotels downtown. So, yeah.
All right. And I don't know, okay, so did much happen in the, so you arrived, that was in July or end of August? You got there.
End of
Okay.
August.
Yeah. So the rest of '67, did much of anything happen?
Pretty boring, actually. Some of the duties we had, sitting all night at a static post. We did have, just before I arrived, or maybe it was shortly after, I don't recall, but there were a couple of military police guys that were killed. Somebody threw a grenade in the back of their Jeep, and we were always told to watch for that. Even young Vietnamese kids would do that. So, yeah.
How much interaction did you have with the civilian population?
Oh, I mean, you could, you know, off duty time, you could walk down the street and, you know, stop at stores. You can purchase things. You could stop at a restaurant. For the most part, I found most of the Vietnamese friendly in the city. So, I mean, you always were suspicious, you know, especially when you went down to get a shave and a haircut with the guys with a straight razor going on your neck. I always kept a 45 on my lap. So.
Yeah. All right. Now, you know, when you get stories about Vietnam, there's stereotypes and so forth of Americans there, and one of them is that you know, some of them would get involved with the women or prostitutes or other stuff like that. Now, do the MPs stay away from that? Or
Yeah, primarily. I mean, there was areas that were strictly off limits because there was a high incidence of venereal disease, and we've actually chased some people that had gone there. They would hide them, you know, because they wanted their business.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was prostitution, you know. There were bars. You can go in a bar and you can buy a beer. It's called 33 Bomb de Bomb, or you can buy Budweiser. Budweiser's always cost more. It was black market stuff. But there's young ladies that would always be in there, and they would ask you to buy them a Saigon tea. Saigon tea was just very high-priced, you know, tea.
Yeah.
And they would sit and talk to you. I mean, nothing real serious, you know. Just it was always, I think for a lot of guys over there, they just was good to talk to a female.
Yeah.
That would be friendly. So.
Okay. But there were some people who went further than that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's-
I mean-
okay. Yeah. So was it a regular thing? So, but your main job was not going around to the red light districts chasing out the.
No, no, no.
The
My,
GIs.
my main job was security, and you know, when the first few months I was there, it was, like I said, it was pretty boring, and static posts and guarding, and you know, and once about 2 or 3 times a night, somebody come along with they call it a coffee cart. So that was always kind of nice seeing them come along.
Okay, so they're bringing you something to eat or drink while you're
Yeah.
you're out there on duty. Okay. Now, are there any particular incidents or things that happened before the start of the Tet Offensive that kind of stand out for you?
Not really, other than just the rocket attacks at night.
And would that be just usually 1 or 2, or a whole bunch of them at once?
Usually maybe 2 or 3,
Okay.
4 a night. You know, I mean, it's a big city.
Yeah.
I mean, they were landing all over the place. So,
All right.
yeah.
So now we kind of get into early '68,
Mhm.
and the Tet Offensive starts. So on the night it starts, what are you doing? What happens to you?
I remember getting ready to go out on guard duty, and the lieutenant said, we're on red alert. There's a lot of activity going on, and we think there might be some attacks. And that was, I can't remember, January 30th or 31st, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they just told us to be well aware and very keen and be careful out there, you know. So, and I was assigned to guard an ammo dump, which was just a few blocks away from our embassy.
Okay.
And of course, our radio antenna was right there too. That communicated. Our call sign was Waco, so it communicated to all our radios. So.
Okay. So what do you see and hear that night?
Oh, just an eruption of gunfire all around, and I'm sitting in my behind my concrete area, listening to the radio, and the radio was going crazy. Some of our units were getting hit, especially out by the racetrack. They call it the racetrack. Was it just a little north of Cholan, between Cholan and Tonsnoot? I know both the 2 people who were in that Jeep were both killed. It's just a lot of gunfire.
Okay.
And I was just sitting there waiting for somebody to come through the gates, because I knew if they wanted to hit our ammo dump or our radio station, it would have been a smart move on their part, but they didn't.
Yeah. All right. Now, were you aware that the embassy itself was under attack, or did you only find that out later?
I was monitoring my radio, and I knew that the embassy was being attacked. I knew our MPs were under fire there, and also during the night, we had a deuce and a half that was going down an alley to try to respond to a unit. Oh, they were going to respond to the attack at Tonsnoot, and there were, I believe there were 28 or 30 MPs on that deuce and a half, and there was a lieutenant and his driver that was leading down through that alley, which they probably shouldn't have been going in the first place. And VC or North Vietnamese, they were all ready for him, and they hit him with claymores and machine guns and killed almost all of them. So that was devastating for our unit.
How many of you were actually guarding the ammo dump, do you think?
Just me.
So you're just all by yourself?
Oh yeah.
So it's like one gate to go into it and you're there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I mean, you know, I just, we had security. I had a radio. If I needed help, I could always call for help. So, yeah.
Okay. And then, so that the noise kind of go on throughout your entire shift there? So how long were you standing there, do you think?
Well, we're on, I don't recall if I was on an 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift.
Okay.
But after Tet, it was always 12 on, 12 off, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
Especially since we lost so many guys, you know. And then after that, I started driving gun jeep.
Okay. So what was that like?
Well, just going around, making sure everything was secure, checking on our static posts, which we had a lot of them, you know. Yeah, that was okay for a while until we got in a little trouble.
Okay. So what happens there?
Coming off duty on May 6th, early in the morning, we were coming off about 6 a.m. and my partner, I was a driver, and he was a sergeant. His name is Willis Holt. We were coming off duty and getting ready to, you know, be off, and we got a call that one of our gun jeeps was under attack, and it was out on Plantation Road, and that's a road that leads between Cholan to Tonsnu. And so we said, yeah, we'll be there. And so we took off, and 2 other gun jeeps followed with us, and we ended up in front of the Annapolis, well, actually about a quarter mile towards Tonsnu from the Annapolis BOQ. And we were firing up on the roof of a hotel, which, according to one of our guys, said that they were North Vietnamese. I don't know for sure if they were or not, but 3 of us were crouched behind my Jeep. A guy by the name of Tom Wallace, another guy by the name of Jimmy Bedgood, and myself. And I thought, man, this is not good, 3 of us behind this Jeep. So I started heading towards a ditch, and it's about the time I got there, there was an explosion, and I went ass over apple cart into the ditch. Thought I was hit. I mean, I felt the concussion. I had a few scratches, but nothing serious. And I looked up, and the RPG had hit my Jeep. And Tom Wallace was laying there, and Jimmy Bedgood was laying there, and I went over to help him out. Tom had lost his leg, and Jimmy Bedgood looked up at one of the guys, Bruce Cook, who was also there, and says, "Bruce, they got me." And he closed his eyes and died. Mm-hmm. And then Tom, I grabbed an antenna wire off from our antenna. We had these antenna wires that would hold our antenna down. You know, I took that antenna wire, Sergeant Holt tried to respond to Waco to get some help. I tied a tourniquet on his leg. Yeah. And so we loaded those guys up and went back to Annapolis, and fortunately we didn't get any more fire after that. Bruce Cook was wounded. Actually, all out of 6 of us, 5 of them were wounded. I was the only one. Mm-hmm. Amazingly not. I could have been. It was a bad situation. But Bruce claims that an RPG hit his Jeep as well. I don't recall that.
Yeah, well, you were a little occupied at that
time.
Yep.
Yeah. And a guy by the name of Red, he was there too. I don't remember too much about him, but out of all 6 of us, I'm not sure. I might be the only one still alive. Bruce just passed away this past spring. So.
All right. So was that kind of your worst moment?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. That was terrible. I mean, scared to death. Heart was beating. Trying to respond the best we could to the situation we had, and that was tough.
Now, while you were in Vietnam, did you get an R&R? Did you get to leave the country?
I put in for R&R to go to Australia for 5 months. And finally, August came around, and they said, "You can have it now. You're almost done here." I said, "Well, no thanks." Okay. So no R&R. Actually, and from Tet on, we were all 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So we didn't didn't get any R&R.
So you never get very much of a break. Okay. So what kind of leadership did you have in your battalion? Are you just reporting to another sergeant, or do you have a lieutenant or captain that you deal with?
We had a guy by the name of Captain Sanford, and he was a pretty good guy. You know. Yeah, I don't recall too many issues with our sergeants. I know one of the sergeants that was at the racetrack, he was killed. But his leadership, I guess it was okay. I don't know.
Now, were most of these, were these people mostly just a little bit older than you, or did you have some guys who were lifers or older?
Well, everybody's older than me.
Well, everyone's older, but yeah.
I was 18.
Yeah.
Well, I was 20 years old when I got out. So.
Right. But I mean, did you have guys who were like in their 30s or whatever who were kind of career military, or were they pretty much all?
Nobody to really mentor you. You know, I mean, I always felt like we're kind of on our own. We relied on each other. You know, we're housed, you know, like 5 or 6 in a room. So yeah,
Yeah. So when you did get there, I mean, did they give you any advice or whatever on how to behave, or basic rules for do's and don'ts?
Oh yeah, I recall we had a first sergeant there, gave us a talk about venereal disease and condoms and, you know, all these things, you know, but yeah.
Okay. Now, were drugs much of an issue at that time?
You know, I hear stories about, just stories about cocaine.
Yeah.
Things, was it cocaine or anyway,
Well,
narcotics?
Cocaine in Vietnam, that word was often used as kind of a pseudonym for heroin, because cocaine mostly comes from like South America.
Yeah, it was heroin.
But you were getting
probably.
heroin.
I hear stories now, but I didn't see any of that hard drugs over there. A lot of marijuana.
Marijuana.
I mean, that was pretty. It was pretty convenient, right on the street. I mean, you can go down and Mama San to be selling cigarettes, but she'd always have the marijuana there. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, did people smoke that on duty or just when they're off? Or?
I never saw any of the guys smoke that on duty.
Yeah. That
They
would
smoked
make
cigarettes.
sense. Yeah.
You know, Marlboros.
Yeah. Well, cigarettes were all over the place then.
Oh yeah, sure.
That kind of thing. Okay. You mentioned that you stood guard sometimes, like General Westmoreland's quarters and things like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever actually see any of these people?
I saw General Abrams when Westmoreland was relieved of his duty there. Abrams came in, and he stayed at the same residence. It was right next to the 3rd Field Hospital. But yeah, I see him coming and going. You know, you do your salute. You know, and you always had respect for that kind of rank.
Okay. Now, because of the kind of jobs you have, was there a lot of emphasis on spit and polish and what you looked like when you were going out to stand guard?
Oh yeah, when I first got there, you know, we always had to have knee clothes, and we had we called them mama sans, and we'd leave our boots out, and she'd go around and spit shine on our boots, you know, make sure they're all polished. Yeah, there was some emphasis on that, but not a lot.
Okay. And probably guarding an ammo dump is different from guarding a general's headquarters.
Probably, I don't know. No, regardless of where we're guarding, we always had the same amount of spit and polish.
Okay.
But things were a little more relaxed after that. I recall at one time prior to Tet, we had an IG inspection. And that was a pretty serious inspection. Somebody's going to come around. And so they told me, I says, somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody asked me to, hey, you got to get rid of these grenades. They're all scratched up, you know, and they're in bad shape. So I loaded a box of them in the back of my Jeep and took them down to the Saigon River and went fishing. So.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I got rid of them. They were all scratched. They were perfectly fine, but because of the inspection coming up, you know, you want to make sure everything was really good.
As long as no one was counting grenades later.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know if anybody counted them or not. So.
All right. Now, did you stay there the full year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then as you're getting short, Do you change what you do, or do your duties change, or do you just do the
Oh, yeah.
same thing?
After, shortly after I had the incident on May 6th, I think it was around June, they put me as CQ duty, which was charge of quarters, and just basically sat in a little office next to a phone, drinking a lot of coffee all night.
Okay.
So, for the last, I'd say the last couple of months.
All right. Now, to think back over the year you spend in Vietnam, are there other particular memories or impressions or things that kind of stand out for you that you haven't talked about yet?
You know, I think some of the worst times anybody has over there was Thanksgiving and Christmas. And for most of us, first time we were ever away from home, and that was very tough, very tough. And
Did the unit do anything to kind of mark those holidays? I mean, did you get different food or anything?
I have, yeah, I still have a menu for Thanksgiving. I saved. Christmas was really hard. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I got a Dear John letter. So,
okay. Yeah, that makes that much worse.
yeah, devastated me.
Right. Okay. So now you get now to the end of your hitch. Now, what happens? How do they get you out of Vietnam?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, obviously I'm a short timer and looking forward to going home. I believe I rode a deuce and a half out to Benoit, and the last night that we're there, we came under rocket attack, and we had no weapons. We had to turn all that stuff in, you know, and so we came under a rocket attack, and they blew up the ammo dump there, and almost everybody that was there had been in the bed sleeping, got on the floor, threw their mattresses on top of themselves, and the attack was short-lived, but yeah, they finally got us on a flight. I think it was TWA. I'm not sure, but it was good to see some American stewardesses on there who were all, well, I thought they were pretty old. They were probably in their 50s. You know, so, but anyway, we fly into, I think it was Oakland, but anyway, we were being relieved at that point in time. We sat up in some bleachers, and some officer gave us a speech about re-enlisting. And just about everybody in there just laughed at him, you know. I mean, some of these guys were grunts right out of the field, and you want us to re-enlist? You got to be kidding! But he was, he says, you may laugh at me now, but 2 or 3 of you will come see me after this to re-enlist.
Yeah. Well, and of course, what kind of incentive was he offering? Do you remember? I mean, was it?
I think there's some bonus incentives, some rank incentives, if I recall. Yeah, and I could have. Thinking back, it would have been a nice opportunity to get some extra cash and some rank, but I was just looking forward to going home.
Okay. Now, when we were doing your paperwork, it looked like you were not actually in the Army for a full 2 years. Did you get an early out when you got back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about I don't know, maybe 35 days early.
Okay.
40 days early, I don't know. But I do recall it being so surreal that one day you're in a war zone, and the next day you're in your mom's kitchen.
Okay. And so what was it like transitioning back to being a civilian? Were there any bumps along the way?
Oh, sure. You know, in the first 3 months, I had 3 different jobs, good jobs. You know, the last one was in Oldsmobile, paid pretty good money, but I couldn't stand it.
Was it factory work? Or?
Yeah, factory, repetitious. I'm taking bumper up one line, putting on, I mean, all night, you know. And I said, no, I'm going back to school, so I did.
Okay.
That was hard transition. I mean, I had 3 jobs in 3 months. And,
Yeah. All right. So where did you go to school?
well, I went to Kellogg Community College.
Mm-hmm.
And after a semester there, got married. And then had a job for a year. We had a couple babies. Then I went to back to Kellogg Community College. My wife worked. I got some GI Bill, and then I transferred to Grand Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and went to Grand Valley for 2 terms back in 1971.
Okay. Now, did you complete a degree, or did you just?
No, I
leave?
didn't. Never did.
Never did. All right.
No, I had a lot of education, a lot of classes. I had different jobs while I was there. I worked in construction, digging ditches for a while, and any way I could, earn some money,
Right.
And then the GI Bill paid, I think, all of $225 a month. So,
All right. Did you find a kind of permanent career track in there somewhere? Did you have a job that you would stay with?
finally, I got a job. I was told had to be in Standale at Myers, and a guy there, he says, he was bagging groceries. I was in school with him. He says, I heard steel cases hiring. I says, what's a steel case? I had no idea what it was. And he told me, well, go ahead. So I took off and went down there to put my application in. There must have been 200 people in line, all waiting to get the application in.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys I was in line with, he says, well, who do you know here? I said, I don't know anybody here. Well, you're not going to get hired. Really. So anyway, long story short, I got in my car, started taking off. I said, well, I'm here. I might as well put the app in. I did. And we ended up moving our mobile home down to Hastings, and that's where we're staying at, White's Mobile Home Plaza. My wife and I and 3 young'uns. And so they gave me a call, wanted me to come in. I says, for what? Well, we'd like to interview and we'd like to hire you. Oh, really? Well, I'm not going to come today. I told him, what? No, maybe later this week. So I did. I went up there later that week, and they hired me.
Good.
So I ended up there for 32 years.
Okay. So what kind of job did they give you?
I sanded, I painted, I just did a lot of basic work,
Still manufacturing stuff, but it wasn't an assembly line.
No. I finally got a job as a dispatcher, and from there I moved on up. I had some really good jobs there. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of good people I worked with and worked for me. So, yeah.
Okay. So now, when you think back to your time in the service, what do you think you learned from it, or how did it affect you?
Well, I think one of the reasons I went in, I wanted to make sure that I understood there was an obligation I had here to my country. While I was in, I never understood that the marches and riots that were going on, both civil rights as well as anti-war protests. I had a hard time trying to reconcile that. I didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, as time went on, I understood a little bit more about how much it was a political effort, more so than the military.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that they were really there to stop communism, but maybe we were. I don't know. Some say that had we not been there, that would have been a big wave of communism across different countries, and maybe not. Who knows? But I guess one thing you learn is that war's doesn't really solve a lot of problems. Doesn't solve a lot of problems, and it still doesn't.
Do you think you took anything positive out of it?
Well, I had a pretty good education in terms of my military education. Yeah, I learned a lot in terms of being military police. never thought I would want to transition to the state police. I had those opportunities, but I never thought I'd want to go that direction.
Okay.
So a lot of guys I served with ended up going into the police.
Right.
So
All right. Okay. Well, it makes for a good story and an unusual one. We don't get too many MPs stationed in Saigon talking to us. So thank you very much for coming in and sharing the story today.
yeah, thank you.